All right, welcome to this episode of Real Estate Chat. Robert
How are you doing? Jonder Perez.
and Robert Eid. It's summer. What were we saying? It's January and July because of the
Well,
recent.
sales have reverted and prices have reverted.
And we're going to find that out. What did they revert to as we look at Robert's charts here and go off of his forecast. So if you've seen the forecast episode, the previous one, make sure you compare it and you're going to see how far or how close Robert was. And we're going to have a look at this because I don't know, I was trying to look for something significant to kind of amplify, but Robert just astutely pointed out, it's just like as if it was January. And let's find out why. Let's load up his charts here. And we'll start with the sales and how things are going when it comes to sales.
Okay, so this is our school year, fiscal year like chart, which starts in September and goes to August. And the reason it does that is to show how lousy it is in December and January, because that's the head of the winter. So where we are with the big X's in green is we have just had the 23rd of 28th best July. And it's about 35% below what it should be for July, or using the 10-year average. So it's like it is in January, 35% off, busy.
Well, that's the reason why it's nothing so exciting to happen. And a lot of real estate observers are still anticipating a crash, and they may be getting what they want or maybe not. Let's find out. So let's look at this one.
Okay, well, this is our favorite. Is it because of price selection? Are there fewer $5 million houses? And we saw the big oosh, which you see there. Now it's come back down to a little bit higher than the 5-year. The 5-year is 5.8%. And this is at 6 point something or other percent. So there are more homes existing that are valued at more than $2 million than there was 5 years ago, because the prices have all gone up. But not disproportionately anymore. We don't have that mountain like we saw in what do we got there? June 22, September 21 to June 20. The mountain's over. So again, revert to the mean.
So are we also, would it be fair to say too, that prices of this type of any higher priced homes hardly ever sell in the summertime, like the seasonality aspect of it?
There is that aspect to it. The people in 2 million to 10 million, they plan further ahead. They sell 6 months ahead of when they want to move. And the lower the price, the closer to the moving date do people finally sign on the dotted line.
And we're seeing some of that in the feedback that we're getting in our office's own listings, that some of the higher priced properties are hardly getting any showings or offers. And the reason for that is just the price of home you're selling in this season. It's the middle of summer. So I don't know how many
people. That's right. Those people are away. Those people are on vacation. Those people are at the cottage. Those people are not thinking about housing because they either did or they're going to next January.
So if you have a $10 million home and you've liked and subscribed to Real Estate Chat and you're wondering why your home isn't selling, even though you're watching Robert and I talk about this back and forth, it's because it's summertime. You just got to pick a better season to go.
Okay, here's our regular look at new listings. Now, the new listings is the top blue line that jumps up and around, and was announced today that there was 13,712 new listings. Sad but true. Their number 32, 52 of those were duplicates, where someone said, oh, I didn't sell in 10 days on offer day, so I'm going to do it again. I'm going to raise the price up to where I should to begin with. So they count that twice, sometimes 3 times, sometimes 8 times in 2 months. The real estate board counts them all as new. So in effect, that red line is telling you what the real new listings are, which is something like 10,500, which is far below the 5 and 10-year average, around 14 and change. So they're 28 below, 26% below where they should be when you don't count the do-overs.
And we're not seeing as many do-overs now. I mean, mind you, partly.
No, they're increased.
Oh, they've increased.
They've increased. The number of do-overs, like they count them weird, are now over 3,000 for the second month in a row.
Yes.
And it was always 1,200, 1,700.
Sorry, I was looking at the percentage of the share, but the total number is more. I mean, mind you, because we're in a shifting market and people are wondering why their homes are not selling and they're still chasing after spring's prices.
It's the strategy of listing it low and then the offer date is failing because people are browned off with it. Agents are browned off with it. Everybody except for the owner and the listing agent are in love with it because, well, they're still in love with it. Just a lag till it finally gets phased out. Okay, so this one is showing what happened to the prices. I thought we were just going to drift off on the price, but this one shows we went down 5.39% between June and July, which is the 14th month in a row when we have not had double-digit gains year over year. And we're about 16% off where we were at the very peak. So where we are is about the same as August of 21. And so that won't tell us anything except for what happened and what might happen.
Well, as you said too, it's the best July ever, and we've also gained back. So when you look at from
That's
peak,
right. When we look to prices, then we'll talk about this again.
okay, sure.
Okay, so here we are, prices, a red line that's arcing and still above every other line on this whole piece of paper because it's the best July price ever achieved. Yes, indeed. It's 83 point something or other percent of the February 22 peak, but we're still up nearly 7.5% from January of this year. And yes, we did go down 5.5% from the month before, but that's what happens most of the time between June and July. So then that, okay, we jumped over one, but that's okay.
Hold on, wait, give me 1 second. Technical difficulties. There we go.
Sure, yeah. This is the one where we eliminate the boom year. And so we can see the current year, which is in the blue with the big stars, compared to 2 years before. And it's sort of arcing along. We're up 8%, we're up 5% on a 2-year change. So don't be dismayed. It's not a boom, it's not a bust. It is a recovery. And interest rates and consumer confidence are bearing the brunt that they didn't bear during that boom that we had this spring in late February, March, April, and half of May. This is now, that's over.
No, you got a whole bunch of numbers going on here. Let me.
Okay, and the only reason for this is we have a ratio in here of what happened to 5 years compared to 5 years, compared to 10 years, and compared to the maximum. So the ratios of 60%, which is in red letters with the yellow background, are the same as they were in January, February. So it means the market is off. We're at 62% of, which means we're off by 38%. So it's the same thing backwards. Okay, so this is a look at how CPI inflation plays on average prices, and average prices are zeroed out, or they're hundreded out in 1989, and then they go up and they're down, they go up and they're down. And here we are at 193 relative to the 100 of 1989 peak. Our February 22 inflation adjusted was 243. So we are down quite a bit from the peak when you adjust for inflation, because we have had heavy inflation times in those 18 months or whatever it is.
Now, if any viewers of Real Estate Chat are worried about something like this happening, so the 21-year, and this will probably be in a future episode as well. We're seeing, of course, we've gone to peak and we've dipped a bit. But Robert, do you foresee that it'll take 21 years before we hit 2022 peak prices again?
I believe that they're going to let inflation run. Never mind 2%. They're going to say, okay, 4%, okay, and then they'll fail on the 4%. So we'll see 5% a year. The value, purchasing power of the Canadian dollar has diminished. So tangible assets, you will require more of those dollars to buy the same tangible asset in the future. So prices will recover because of the reduced purchasing power of the Canadian dollar.
So it's attributed to something just as simple as that. Okay, let's look at adjusted CPI.
Okay, so that's the same thing where we've got two lines, adjusted and unadjusted prices. There's that same 21-year recovery to get back to where we were. This is all complicated, but what it says is every time they raise interest rates, prices fall. That's what the yellow background is. And it goes to show the one in 1974, shows the one in 1989, and it shows the one where we're only down 16% when they raise interest rates after a ridiculously long, lower for longer in the lockdown.
It was quite a long time if you consider it. But for those of you who are confused by this, and all it is basically that there's two ways to calculate the average price. One is what Robert would call, in nominal dollars, which is what was the actual average price during those years, versus the adjusted. And for those of you who had bought, and in a couple of episodes prior, we talked about my parents' situation when they had bought. But if you had bought during this period of time, yes, it does appear that it was a bit of a shorter recovery if you didn't adjust for inflation. But if you do adjust for inflation, you realize how much longer that actual recovery is. And so this is important because we're looking at times right now where we're seeing this kind of inflation happening. It will affect the next recovery, if you will, from our current levels to the next peak. Robert?
Okay, so this is the coinciding peaks all adjusted to 100, and we saw our number dive down again. It was moving up in the spring. We saw a fabulous spring again, and now it's dived down because supply and demand and the cost of money, interest rates, are what affects the real estate market the most. Okay, so regular boring stuff, active inventory is going up. Oh, isn't that interesting? So now we're within a hair's breadth, 1% and 5% of what it should be. For the first time in a very long time, inventory is up to where it should be for the month of July.
So what's going to be interesting about this, Robert, because we're in the summer season, fall season is coming up, which is the second busiest market typically in any given year. What should we expect inventory to do?
Well, relative to the 10-year, probably stay right about where the 10-year is. And the 10-year moves up and down based on the season, based
Now,
on the month it is.
from a strategic perspective, would it be advantageous for somebody looking to buy a home to get in now, or should they wait for inventory to continue to swell up a bit? And for sellers, since inventory is swelling up, obviously that means competition is swelling up, and obviously it depends on how much sales we see happening in August. But what should buyers and sellers be doing based on this information?
Okay, I'm going to be real boring and say the same thing again. You're only looking for one house. You're only trying to sell one. So when do you want to move? Work backwards from there. 4 months before when you want to move is when you start, regardless of the conditions. And you put up with what it is in between times. If you're open-ended on the timing, well, then you pick timing that you think. But you cannot time the market. As John just says, the peak market is in the spring. And then we have a fall rally before the snow flies, but it's all with a lag. People want to move before snow flies, want to move before Christmas, or they want to move before the school term ends or begins. And then there's 4 months before that when that period starts. So
Robert, you also said this in a prior episode that if you want to look for an advantageous market where you want to negotiate favorable terms with the seller, now might be one of those times if you're looking to buy.
well, always you're looking for the seller who has been on the market for a long time. So you look at the property days on the market. How long has that property been on the market? How many different prices with how many different relators? And that person, and what's their due date? What does it say they want for a possession date? That's the person who you want to negotiate hard with because they will capitulate. If you're a seller, you make sure you take advantage of what everybody else is going to do by pricing it accurately, pricing it a little bit under, and saying, sure, bring me your offer, bring me your offer, bring me your offer. Don't wait. Don't have until 2 weeks offer. Say, bring me the money. Don't ever say no to money. Never say no to money. Oh, so here's the days in the market, which are going up. And again, to normal. They're not going to super good. They're not going to super bad. They're going up to normal. And number of months of active inventory tells us something because now we've gone up to nearly 3 months of inventory. When you take the inventory at the end of the month divided by the sales in the month that just went by, it's nearly 3. So 3 is still good. 3 is still good. 4 and above is bad, meaning that it's sellers, it's buyers market territory. But we've been spoiled for 25 years. And so to go back to normal, as long as we don't go into 5 months of 7 months, 10 months of inventory where nothing's moving, what do you expect? And again, everything's right on on what that should be, with the 416 taking up 36% of the sales, and some going out the west, which includes Halton and Peel, and north, which is York region, and a little bit Simcoe we got, and a little bit Orangeville, and then east is Durham. They're all sort of, you see Durham cheaper is getting a little bit of a boost. They're up to 15 nearly when they're normally at 10, but it's spread evenly. And the cheaper properties are selling. The higher price, we just see, I did the 416,905 comparison. The higher price average is in 905 this time, but that's because we have in the summer low price selection. We have more below the average a million something condos that are being sold in 416.
So just a pretty relaxed summer market, I guess. Is then things are just going along smoothly. There is no crash. Prices are posted the best July average price ever. And it's just a matter of, as a real estate chatter, whether you're in the market, whether you're planning to buy, whether you're planning to sell or invest. Robert, any final pieces of advice when it comes to anybody looking to make a move in this market?
Interest rates are the biggest important thing, and the confidence that you have in your earning power, your job security, and your ability to pay. That soon it will be a buyer's market, and you'll be able to pick and choose. There will be more. There will not be tons, because the seller who's uncertain, who doesn't have job security, his ability to pay, his ability to qualify, is not going on the market. That's why we've seen sales way below normal, listings way below normal, but intense activity on the ones that are for sale and the buyers that are there, because they're all very serious. You just have a smaller group fighting over a smaller group. So the intensity is there. That can't last forever. People give up when they say, I can't find anything. They give up. And when they give up, they stop looking. And when they stop making offers, then prices fade. I haven't got anything on my house for a month. Okay, I'll drop the price. Oh, okay, I'll drop the price. Okay, you give me that much. Well, I wish you got more. You accept a lower price. So it's an ebb and a flow.
So do what's right for you, do what's within your budget. Make sure you don't ever stretch or overextend yourself. Make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure you leave some comments in the real estate chat if you have any questions or any ideas for upcoming episodes you'd like us to cover. There will be more to come on Real Estate Chat. Take care and bye for now.
See you later.